Now, Donald Trump has warned that Canada's announcement of plans to recognise a Palestinian state threatens a trade deal between the two neighbours. The US president's comments on social media come after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney announced that his country intends to recognise a Palestinian state at the UN General Assembly in September. Canada faces a 35% tariff on most goods it sells to the US from Friday, unless a deal is reached today. Let's look at this and matters arising with Scott Lucas, who's a professor of American Studies at University College Dublin. He's also founder of the Enduring America website on US politics and foreign policy. He joins us from Dublin. Welcome to DW. Let's start with the Canada example. How seriously should Ottawa be taking this latest Trump threat?
Oh, I think everyone takes Donald Trump seriously, not in the sense that he's well informed on the issues, but in the sense that he is unpredictable, he is chaotic, and fundamentally, he operates as a businessman and now as a politician through extortion and bullying. So we have this threat, which is that a 35% tariff will be imposed on Canadian goods tomorrow. That's on top of the tariffs which have already been imposed on Canadian steel and aluminum. So Canada has to be prepared for that. And indeed, going back to February, when Trump first started making these threats, the Canadian government, including the new Prime Minister Mark Carney, has prepared the population that there may have to be sacrifices. But Carney has also told Canadians a fundamental, which should always be remembered, and that is the first person to pay the cost of Donald Trump's tariffs, whatever reason he imposes them, are not Canadians. They are Americans, American importers, American consumers, American farmers, American manufacturers. Okay. And so the Canadians are effectively saying, well, if you're going to try to bully us, we aren't going to back away.
So with this latest Trump threat, the linking of these tariffs with Canada's decision potentially in the future to recognise a Palestinian state, we see that these tariffs then are not necessarily about equalising trade deficits.
No, and again, there's a fundamental here, which is that the tariffs have never been about equalizing trade deficits. Donald Trump, again, I must emphasize to you, doesn't understand how tariffs operate. He falsely thinks they replace taxes. His tariff charts on April the 2nd had nothing to do with actual tariffs. The tariffs are used instead for economic pressure and now for political pressure. They were used earlier this year with Canada to try to make it into the 51st state, which Canadians weren't going to agree to. They were used to try to split certain parts of Canada, especially Western Canada, away from the rest of the country. And now he's using it to try to punish someone for recognizing or potentially recognizing the state of Palestine. It will be interesting to see if Trump does this with other countries, because remember, of course, the UK has just announced in the last few days that it is provisionally recognizing the state of Palestine. It has a framework for a deal with the US. Does Trump not walk away from that? France has announced it is recognizing the state of Palestine. Does that undo the framework that the US has with the EU? This just simply says that Trump does not operate according to economic rules or international rules. He operates to his own political whims and his own personal interests.
So you say that these tariffs are being used as to apply economic and political pressure. Is it too early to say whether this is an effective tactic?
Well, again, in the sense of economic, no, because nobody wins in a tariff war. And in effect, Donald Trump has shot America in the foot with these. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have higher inflation. When you have higher inflation, it means the Federal Reserve is less likely to cut interest rates. When they cannot cut interest rates, more interest is paid on America's record $36 trillion debt. So you will get these economic effects sooner rather than later in the United States. Now, politically, Trump may want to try to get certain concessions, but I don't see at this point he'll be able to roll back the momentum towards recognition of the state of Palestine for reasons we can discuss in another interview. I don't think he'll get Brazil to drop its prosecution over the former president Jair Bolsonaro over his attempted coup, despite a 50% tariff being imposed. And I don't think he'll get India, for example, to cave into his threats despite a 25% tariff yesterday. At the end of the day, nations will protect themselves in their interest, even as Trump threatens these tariffs.
That's very clear. Thank you for talking us through that, Professor. Professor Scott Lucas, Professor of American Studies at University College Dublin.